tomorrow, the Source Africa event kicks off in Cape Town at the International Convention Centre with over 1,600 international and regional apparel and footwear buyers who will be there in attendance. This is for the textile, clothing and footwear trade event. Joining us live from our studios in Cape Town is Tim Armstrong. He's an investment promotion director for the Textile Development Unit at the Ministry of Industry and Trade in Tanzania. Tim, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I mean, obviously the most important thing with movement of goods is ensuring that you break those barriers. Now, obviously, we have seen the signing of the tripartite free trade agreement. We've got the likes of AGOA in place. Are these arrangements and these agreements translating into tangible results that we can see coming through that are helping exporters?
Definitely, in Africa as a whole, there's a tremendous boom in interest. A lot of buyers are coming. I think some major American and European buyers are all looking at Africa and seeing that they don't want to be left out from the picture, and everyone's looking for capacity at the moment. The tripartite arrangements have been signed in principle, but the rules of origin and the phase-in of the agreement hasn't been finalized yet, but should be soon. So the tripartite thing, I think, will depend, impact will depend on some of those rules of origin and how they're applied.
Let's Tim, maybe zone in and look at AGOA. Obviously, there had been some negative publicity around AGOA here in South Africa regarding chicken imports and so forth. But AGOA in the context of the textile industry and what this has done, and specifically looking at Tanzania.
Yes, well, AGOA has been there for around 16 years. Tanzania had a big peak in interest when it first came along, as did the rest of Africa. Then it petered out after the end of the multi-fiber agreement to some extent. But it's coming back now with the 10-year renewal. There's no longer any discussion about making the fabric has to be local, as was with the first stages of AGOA. So we are getting a lot of interest in terms of investors coming and looking at investing in Africa, because I think what major buyers really want is they want a country which offers more duty-free options. So if you're a global buyer like Gap or Levi's, you want a country which can give you duty-free into Europe, into South Africa and into America. And Tanzania is one of the places which can offer that.
Tim, can we compete globally if we look at input costs as the African continent and maybe other parts of the world? You mentioned these companies that come to Africa to source material here. Can we compete?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, the underlying price of cotton is a commodity. It's fixed globally. So there's no reason why, if it's cotton-based, that Africa couldn't compete on the biggest element of cost in a garment, which is the fabric and the fiber. In terms of competing, if you're importing the fabric from Asia and then making up in Africa and sending out to America or Europe, that's much more complicated. I think the biggest issue I've seen over the years in Africa and countries like in developing countries is that there's never enough throughput. The buyers have to give enough volume to get the workers' productivity higher, and this is where the factories start making more money and they start being globally competitive. Obviously, the duty preference which Africa has, Haiti has, the TPP arrangements are something which is helpful, and they're a good boost in the short term, but longer term we should always be looking at making sure that the underlying competitiveness of the industry is there, and much of that comes from productivity, and productivity comes really from giving them enough throughput volume into the business. And typically many factories here start and stop as they get orders, and then buyers move things around. So my key message to most buyers is please give enough volume, even if you're not making a profit on every single one or the normal margin on every one. Give enough volume to keep those factories running at a high capacity, which will lead on to productivity gains in the future.
Tim, thank you so much. We'll leave it there. That was Tim Armstrong. He is an investment promotion director for the Textile Development Unit at the Ministry of Industry and Trade in Tanzania.